Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Just want to give the opportunity for more residents to get on. So it is approximately 5:37 now. We're going to start at 5:40. So if you can be patient for 3 minutes, we'll get started. But thank you, everybody, for being here, and we'll get started shortly. All right, good evening again, everybody. I am Alderman Michael Scott Jr. for those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who do, hello and good evening. I want to welcome you to our, this is May, right? Yep, our May community meeting. And this month we will be talking about the 548 related project that is happening on Costner Roosevelt. We'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do with the elevated line, the Alham line, or the Lawndale line, as we affectionately call it. And then we're going to also talk about, how that development how we're going to stop displacement because of those developments. And so this evening we have related 548. We have the Department of Planning and Development. We have Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, and we have the Department of Housing, who are all partners in this effort. And so again, I want to thank them for being here and giving our community their time this evening. Again, just to talk a little bit about kind of why we're here. Last month when we had our community meeting, we talked a lot about the development that is going on in and around North Lawndale. And, you know, I think that is a good thing. And I hope most of you think that is a good thing. You know, I've been charged as alderman to create a more walkable, livable space for the residents here in the 24th Ward. And that is exactly what I've been trying to do with a lot of the partners that are around the table today, as well as with some other folks. And we talked in nauseam about all the developments that are coming here in the 24th Ward. And the question that continued to come up is, you know, how will this development affect our seniors? How will this development affect our property taxes? How will this development affect our community as a whole? And are we trying to move people out of our community with this development? And you know, the short answer to that is absolutely not. You know, what I think needs to happen is the ability for the residents that have been here and planted their flag in the community of North Lawndale in the 24th Ward for so many years to be able to reap the benefits of all of the great development that is coming here to our community. That being said, there is a plan for the residents here and to make sure that those folks aren't displaced, that there is a strategy to one, bring affordable housing to our community and making sure that the residents that are here get that. But one thing that I want everybody to understand is we are greatly underpopulated. You know, we just went through the remap process. And because of our lack of population, we've had to draw in the jail, which gives us another 7,000 folks. And we had to take some of the 12th Ward, and we had to take a little bit of the 29th Ward in order to get the 52,000 residents that is necessary to make up a ward. And we still are a little bit off that. And we can go into deviations and that kind of stuff. And in the next meeting, I'll talk about the map a little bit more because it would have been voted on by then. And I'll let everybody kind of see what 24 will look like moving forward. That being said, again, we're here to talk about the development. And I'm gonna turn it over to Brian Hacker, who has been a champion for our community here in North Lawndale on the West Side in general. He's one of the lead planners here at DPD in the city of Chicago, and he has been, again, very much involved in any and all of these developments that have happened, and it has been a champion for development here in 24. So Brian, if you wanna take it over, introduce AJ, Patton, and the team that related. Again, I wanna thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of the residents of 24 and look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alderman. Yeah, and good evening, everyone. Glad to be here in front of the community again. So yeah, not much else to add outside of what Alderman Scott just spoke about, but just to give you a little idea of you know, the agenda and how the meeting will be structured. We're going to have 548 development and related Midwest up first, talk about the Roosevelt Costner development, and then we'll also have Richard Townsell talking about the Reclaiming Chicago Communities Initiative. And then my partner in the Department of Housing, Cindy Soto, and I are going to talk about what the city is doing in North Lawndale and, you know, the city at large to promote affordable housing and equitable development. And then we'll go into an open Q&A. And I think, you know, we're also, if questions are coming up, you know, related to some of these items, then we can also stop between the items and address some questions as well. And then just, you know, as always, matter of decorum and, you know, in these types of meetings, please be respectful and productive with your questions and your comments. You know, I feel like we always have a great group that comes in for these North Lawndale meetings, and, you know, you ask really good questions, you know, hard questions, but there's always a real nice, respectful dialogue here. So let's keep that up and be respectful to one another and make sure that we're making good use of our time in this meeting to talk about these great projects and the, you know, development that's coming up in North Lawndale. So
Brian, before you get started, I just wanted to also say that Richard is going to touch a little bit about the the facts as it relates to like property taxes in and around with development coming to your houses, because he's been doing a lot of that development for quite some time. As the president of Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, and then as he came back as president of Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, and just kind of the misnomer that is kind of cast on development in and around the community. So just wanted to add that as well.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So first up, we got the 548 and related Midwest team. So I will stop sharing my screen and let you all take over for your item here. So, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm assuming, Shreya, that they probably handed the steering wheel to you on sharing the screen. Yeah. Well, no, so thank you and good evening. I'm AJ Patton, founder of 548 Development, representing our entire team, which is 548 Related Midwest, Lamar Johnson Collaborative. We've got Black Men United, Nlccc with Executive Director Rodney Brown. So we've got a pretty robust team, a host of other designers and contractors that are involved so far. On the line to give an update about Roosevelt and Costner, about where that development is right now. Here's a bit of an outline in terms of where we are. And, you know, I don't want to read this to you necessarily, but what I will say is we're in early design. We're doing some site planning, early design work, working through the zoning process. We're engaged heavily with Rodney Brown's team and Pastor Harrell with Black Men United to get a deeper feel of exactly what they're looking for inside of the innovation centers. We'll talk more about that in a moment. You know, frankly, we're navigating a really tough period in construction and supply chain with inflation. I already see some nods already. We are, you know, I don't think it's inappropriate for us to say that we'll probably be at least a 50% premium from what we originally projected, if not more. But we're on path, on pace, and you know, going to keep moving forward with the project. We're excited about it. So we're in the initial phases of design, working through with our civil engineering team and environmental group. So here's where we are now, working through this. This kind of outlines the process. There's some conversations around what's best in terms of permitting this, in terms of bifurcating the permit from the industrial portion of the project and the innovation side of the project, just because of how intensive designing an industrial building is pretty straightforward, but it's a really large project. So we've got to put our arms around that front. But frankly, the Innovation Center, we want this to be exactly what the community needs. And we've got the right community partners with Rodney Brown and Pastor Harrell. And so we want to spend that time and execute that the right way. Shreya, can you move to the next slide? So here's kind of a basic, kind of high level view of the site plan. It hasn't changed. We're collecting data as it stands in terms of where the construction numbers are going to come in and what value engineering we may have to do on the industrial side. But this is frankly what we're planning to do. The only real changes that we're considering is, how much solar can we fit on the roof? How much of that can we give back to the community and at what discounts? We're working through that in real time. We've hired a consultant on that front in terms of what does community solar look like, what off-takers in the community make the most sense. And we'll roll that out more formally through the Alderman's office at a later date, but that's some really exciting news that we've got in our pocket here. As you see here, we've got the two innovation centers on the right. Those are still coming. You'll hear Leslie Roth of Lamar Johnson speak to that more in detail. So, we're on path, and on scale. I'll hand it to Leslie and then we'll maybe pass it back when we've got more questions.
Awesome. Thank you, AJ. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. My name is Leslie Roth. I'm a principal with the Lamar Johnson Collaborative. I am an architect and urban designer working with 548 and related to create the two innovation centers that you're seeing on your screen. As AJ mentioned, we have two really amazing community partners that we've been working with closely to understand the needs of the community, understand the needs of both of these organizations, and also understand how these two innovation centers can contribute in a positive way along Roosevelt Road, and in collaboration with the design and construction of the two innovation buildings that'll be located to the north. As you can see on the site plan, Nlccc will be housed as a tenant in the building on the east side near Kildare and Roosevelt, and Black Men United will be located on the west side of the site near Roosevelt and Costner. We'll go on to the next slide. So we're very early on in the design process for each one of these buildings. And as AJ mentioned, this is, we're taking our time and understanding what the community needs are and how these buildings can facilitate not only activities of both of the community organizations, but also really serve community in a way that creates economic development opportunity that is innovative and that really begins to extend the services of each one of these community organizations broadly and deeply. The floor plan that you're seeing here is a result of conversations that we've been having with the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council with Rodney Brown, who's with us tonight. This plan is a result of having conversations about the community partners that he is currently working with and designing spaces that facilitate the kind of activities that he wants to have in the building and that the organizations that he's working with would like to have in the building to better serve community. The plans that you see here, the building is essentially divided in half, with the right side, the blue color, being more offices for the Nlccc and other partner organizations. And on the west side of the building, in the kind of tan and orange colors, those are externally facing functions that will further entrepreneurship and economic development mission and vision of Nlccc. The exciting thing about this building is that, and both buildings, is that they are connected by a very large open lawn space that will be open to the public and can be programmed by not only both organizations, but will be welcoming and open to community members even when there is not programming going on. It will be a large green public open space. We do have Rodney on the line. Rodney, if you'd like to take a couple seconds to talk to the group about what your vision is for this building.
Thank you, Liz. I certainly appreciate that. Thank you for this opportunity. As she's pointed out, this is going to be a home for Nlccc, the North Lawndale Chamber of Commerce, and New Covenant. We're looking for this to be a small business resource center for local business in North Lawndale and the West Side. But we're really looking for this to be a place where they can come and get coaching to help expand their businesses, to grow their businesses, and or to start their businesses. Here, we're going to have classes that talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to have workshops with subject matter experts coming in. We're also going to have a co-working space that business owners can come and use. And we're looking also to have a social enterprise here. So again, what we're looking at here is for this to become an economic hub for North Lawndale and surrounding communities.
Thank you so much, Rodney. You can go to the next slide. The second innovation center will be housed by Black Men United. This center is located on Roosevelt and Costner and will be right on the corner there. So this is the west part of the site. This building is primarily dedicated to furthering Black Men United's mission of serving the community through a whole variety of distribution means that you see on the right-hand side of the plan in turquoise. This area will be used for packaging, dry goods storage. It will have coolers for food that is distributed, and will also be able to host large events in this space. On the left-hand side, closer to the Costner and Roosevelt corner, you can see that that part of the building will be primarily administrative functions and training functions with a large computer lab, offices, and open workspace. There will be a number of trucks that pull up to this building. So we've created what we're calling a front porch that could also be used for events. And that is on the north side of the building. And just a reminder that both of these buildings will be connected by a large green space that will be open to the public. I think we have Pastor Harrell on the line with us today. Pastor Harrell, would you like to take a couple seconds to describe your vision for this building?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so kindly. I see our building being one of the community, as well as kind of like the United Nations of the city of Chicago, as we continue to be of service to our brothers and sisters, whatever your background is, whatever the color of your skin is. And so we just want to be able to keep serving them in areas of food insecurity, violence reduction, and workforce development.
Thank you so much, Pastor Harrell. We're really excited to be working with both Rodney and Pastor Harrell on these two exciting buildings. As I mentioned, we're just in the initial stages of beginning to lay out their vision and for each one of these buildings. In our schedule, we will begin developing the actual architectural design with architectural materials and understanding what the actual massing and shape of these buildings will be. Each one of these buildings is 5,000 square feet and will be just jewels in the community. So we're thrilled to be working with dynamic project partners and community organizations to bring these two buildings to life. Thank you.
Brian, if we have a little bit of time, Yannette, do you have some, can you add?
Sure.
Take a little bit.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yannette Garcia. I'm a vice president in construction, and I work specifically with our teams as we look at opportunities for employment, for small subcontractor opportunities, for youth engagement, and for vendor manufacturing outreach. Just a couple of stats I'm going to throw out at you guys and to demonstrate the history of the work that we do and what we are committed to continue to do in the North Lawndale community. So over the last 15 years, we've awarded over $268 million worth of contracts to small businesses, to minority and women-owned businesses. And a lot of what we do is not just about awarding and checking the box, right? Because anybody can do that, but rather we take a real in-depth look at the businesses and what their business plan is, what can they do, how do we work with them, what does their insurance look like, what is the bonding capacity, and how we can help build businesses. And to that, we've built over 20 businesses in the city of Chicago. We've given them their first contract. And so we are continuing to do that. So I get a lot of times people that say, hey, what are your pre-qualifications to work on one of your jobs? The pre-qualification is the, passion to get the work done and to be successful. And we will work with you. We will make sure that you are also a success on our projects. Again, your success is our success. So we want to make sure that we get there. With that said, and when we talk about workforce, over the last 29 projects, we have hired over 465 residents from different communities that we've worked in across the city of Chicago. And again, we can hire people for jobs, but we prefer to hire people for careers. And so part of that is also making sure that not only is there access for new jobs or new opportunities, but that you are welcomed and you are, on that job site. And so we do programs like COCO, where we're able to change this job site culture for creating a more inclusive process and workforce on our jobs. So I share this really quickly with you guys as a demonstration of our continued commitment to this project and to North Lawndale and to our city of Chicago. So if there's any questions, I'm here for it.
That's awesome. Brian or the Alderman, did you want us to take questions now, or do you want to wait till the end? How do you want to navigate a handful of questions that are queued up?
Yeah, AJ, there are some questions that are specific to the project here. Mostly from the same person, but Yeah,
I'm fine with, if you want me to just dive into the chat, I can do that too, if that saves time for the alderman's calendar here.
I think if you want to speak to those questions, I'd also like to just say to you is just, you know, for the attendees to try to keep your questions kind of pointed, and you know, let's give everyone a chance to ask questions instead of it being kind of dominated by one person. But there are some questions that are specific to your project there. So if you want to take those from the Q&A, I think that'd be a good idea right now.
Sure. What are they planning to do about traffic, cars, and people coming into the area? I think maybe one of the lead architects, maybe Ann or Mike, I know we did a traffic study and the flow. I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that specifically.
I'm happy to try and answer that. You know, like any project, as AJ mentioned, we always look at the impact of increased traffic based on the program. We will monitor a traffic study currently, and then we will continue to monitor that as this project unfolds and we finish the planning, so that we monitor the amount of traffic within the neighborhood. And then we actually work with CDOT to design kind of the ins and outs of the site to make sure that we're distributing the traffic across the site, so no one particular intersection is burdened by additional traffic. But we work with an outside consultant, and then we coordinate with CDOT to make sure that we get proper disbursement and that we don't unduly burden any one intersection. Leslie, I don't know if you want to add to any of that.
No, I think it's a great explanation. I think also we're really sensitive to the traffic that's generated by the two innovation buildings. They have designated parking lots for each one of the buildings, and designated truck access also. And we know that there's residential adjacent to the site, especially on the Kildare side of the site. And so we're sensitive to how cars and trucks and any traffic that's generated will be entering and leaving the site. And what hours that will be happening. Because there is industrial buildings, this is something that we've really thought about. And the impact, while there will be more cars because this will be a new employment center, the benefit is that there's jobs. And so there's trade-offs sort of to each one of these decisions. But yes, we are taking a sensitive approach to that and are looking at opportunities to reduce any negative impact that, that this development would have as far as parking and traffic.
As Leslie said, I think one of the real sensitivities is to the residential and where the school and the residential areas are that we'll pay particular attention to. As she said, there's already heavier traffic on Roosevelt. But we want to be particularly sensitive to the residential areas.
There's some more macro questions in the queue that I think we'll try to get to overall across the kind of the rationale why the alderman called for this particular meeting. So I'll let those questions go towards the end. I think there is one specific one. What is the estimated timeline for this project to finish? You know, I think we had a better grasp of that maybe 6 months ago. I think this is a bit of a moving target at this point. You know, I think it's, 18 months has been kind of the conservative approach that we've taken. So I think fall 24 is not unrealistic expectations at this point in terms of delivery. But I mean, that's a lot of moving variables in terms of, in terms of where we are with getting in the queue for materials, what happens with, it's just a really odd time right now. But I think fall of 24 is a fair kind of target for us.
I mean, to AJ's point, we're actively engaged in the design process right now. We're seeing real challenges, not just on this project, but across other projects that we're working on with supply chain, not just in terms of cost, but availability. So for instance, precast, availability of precast has gone way, way out. So we're monitoring that. The good news is we're in the ground on a lot of projects. So we have a lot of real-time information to monitor it, but it will certainly have some impact on our execution schedule.
Brian, I think that kind of sums up kind of the more targeted questions. I'll leave the kind of the bigger ones for as we get done with the collection of discussions.
Yeah, you know, if not to put you on the spot more, but if you can take, you know, the question related to, and I think that you know, I spoke to this some already, but you know, how residents in the area will benefit from the project, and you know, I think that, I mean, you know, Rodney, maybe you have thoughts on this, and also, you know, maybe I know one of the major points of this, you know, from the city's point of view that went into our RFP, you know, before we selected this team for the project, was that we wanted to drive, you know, local economic development, but also really local wealth building and employment in the community as well. We do see this as being a project that's going to, you know, bring hundreds of jobs into the community, and with the hope that some of those will be available to local residents. There will be a local hiring push. So I know that some of this is, you know, TBD because you're still pursuing tenants there. But if you could speak to some of those points, you know, as they relate to this project, I think that now would be a good time to do that.
Rodney, let me take the first half and I'll let you get the second half of that.
Okay, great.
Perfect. So we've been pretty direct from the beginning when we turned this RFP in that we were going to be intentional at every single level about who we hired, who we contracted with at every level. And that's starting even with me. I mean, the fact that a local Black developer is getting to lead this conversation and co-lead this development, I think says a lot, frankly. And then from who we picked the GC, but I care about way in the weeds. So who's our lead attorney's Graham Grady on this? Our civil engineers, Kelsey Taylor. Those are the kind of our insurance brokers, Charles Smith, who's a West Side, you know, advocate. You know, we've been really intentional at every single level. That was a commitment that we made, not just in our RFP documents, not in the little cute commercial or at a press conference. Post all of that has been committed and executed on. And that's going to further go down that, you know, down that path as Yannette laid out, you know, Related's track record. And I think ours, we may not have as big a brand, but I think our track record in our deals speaks for itself as well in our commitments across the board on our deals. So frankly, at the macro level, professional services, design, engineering, construction, we're holding ourselves to those commitments and we'll continue to do so. And then I think at the next level, from the long-term perspective, and we're still working through who's going to be the anchor tenant of those buildings. That's probably for a later discussion as we get further along in the process. But even our commitments to Black Men United and to Nlccc, thinking long-term about who are the next Cornelius Griggs and NOSAs that we can build up and build capacity to, who's the next Leslie Roth that we can put some rocket fuel behind, and handing them over to Rodney Brown and his team and making sure that they've got the right resources so that when they get in front of Yannette, they're ready to go, right? And so, you know, we've put a boatload of thought into this. This is a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of layers of thought that have gone into this. And we think this is going to have a positive impact on North Lawndale for, you know, multiple generations. Rodney, feel free to fill in the gaps as I'm stumbling around here.
Thanks, AJ. I appreciate that. One point I want to make about the what's going to be in this building, what we're bringing to this location. Approximately 2 years even before this project was conceived, New Covenant had a town hall meeting with local business owners and entrepreneurs and asked them what they would be looking for in a development like this. We've been thinking about this for a while. And everything that I've mentioned to you is what the community business owners have said they would like to see in a hub like this for economic development. If you also look at the quality of life plan that Nlccc put together, you're going to see that part of what we talked about was having an incubator space, having something where entrepreneurs can come and learn how to grow their businesses. So when we talk about the impact on the community, this is going to place us in a position where we can better serve local entrepreneurs who want to learn how to grow and expand businesses. So when we talk about creating opportunities, we all know that entrepreneurs tend to be the highest employers in the country. So as small businesses grow in North Lawndale, we put ourselves in a position where those business owners can do business with each other. That dollar in North Lawndale gets to circulate within the community. And we have an opportunity to really see the manifestation of the results for economic development and improvement in this community. Our focus, our desire is to create in North Lawndale a self-sustaining economy. This hub is going to be one of the vehicles to help us do that.
Yeah, thank you both. I guess, AJ, I'm going to put you back in the spotlight again.
It's okay.
Where in the timeline do you think that you would see, or you would have potentially an announcement of, tenants for the industrial spaces? Like, are you already in conversations? Are you, do you need to be further along in the process? When would that maybe be announced?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to what you just said, but I will say that we've hired a leasing broker. And everybody knows that the industrial last mile market is extremely hot right now. I would be disingenuous if I said we probably wouldn't have by late summer probably some idea of who that person's going to or that organization's going to be, frankly, just because this is a very hot market. These projects are getting leased up before the first shovel goes in the ground. So, I want to temper some level of expectation, but my assumption is that going into the fall, we will have some idea of who that person, what that entity is or entities are. And then we can start to have that conversation about commitment to the community that we've promised this community in terms of local hiring, prioritizing folks in the community first, and so forth. So my expectation, Brian, frankly, is that we'd probably have that before the fall.
Hey, Brian, can I also say that if you build it, they will come. I've been through this process more times than I wanted to in terms of having a tenant there. And it doesn't come until they know that it's definitely going to be shovels in the ground. But there's all kinds of folks out there that are asking, one, because of the location of where it is, right in between 290 and 55, which is a great place to be, right on Roosevelt Road, which has a great thoroughfare. And so there are going to be no short of folks who want to be in here, and no short of jobs for the folks that are in the community.
Okay. There's another question. Thank you, everyone. In the chat, actually, from Ramel Terry. What related Midwest existing project will this new site be comparable to? So is there, I know related as a pretty broad, portfolio, but are there any others that, folks might recognize?
Brian, I can take this question. Hi, everyone. My name is Shreya Singh. I work at Related Midwest, and I also live in North Lawndale. It's a community that's very dear to me. So one of the main projects that Related Midwest has on the west side is Roosevelt Square. And I think that this site will be comparable in terms of its reach and its magnitude that Roosevelt Square has. And it includes our commitment to hiring from the community, which is just a very strong fabric of the way that we do business in construction and in development. It's also going to create a lot of opportunities for people within the community and on the greater west side. And lastly, it's just going to be a marquee project. These two industrial buildings and these two innovation centers will be marquee developments in a community that hasn't really seen a lot in the past. And the way we're going to approach this project is going to be the same way that we approach our other projects at Related Midwest.
Okay. Thank you, Shreya. Let's see, just taking a look at the Q&A here. I think that, Alderman Scott, maybe, there was a question regarding police, and public safety around this site. I don't know if that's something that you can speak to.
I will speak to that. So, the theory that I subscribe to, and I think that has worked, is the more activity you have in and around, the more engaging activity you have, in and around a community, the safer it is. The more you have people walking on the street, going in and out of the innovation center, the more you have folks driving in and out of these buildings that will have, you know, hundreds of jobs. The more restaurants that pop up, the more businesses that New Covenant can create, the more homes that Lawndale Christian can create, that have more folks out on the street, folks who are concerned about their homes, concerned about their safety, that are good neighbors, that are trying to build community. The safer the community is. This is not something that we can't put the police on the street and expect the police to police our way to a safer community. We all as residents have to step up, and we have to make calls when they're necessary. We have to come out, we have to clean. We have to be a part of this. I say oftentimes that government is a participatory sport. Building your community is also a participatory sport. Not, the more that we have folks engaged, the more that we have community members working in these sites, building businesses in the Innovation Center, coming in and helping the folks at Black Men United get their message out, the more we have. And then, there are a couple other questions I want to answer really quickly. One about circulating dollars within our community, and the other about how do we get folks trained to get in the Innovation Center. These things are happening currently in our communities. If you reach out to Nlccc and you reach out to Rodney and New Covenant, they are training businesses right now how to become entrepreneurs, and then they can just go in this hub once it is done. So if you reach out to New Covenant now, they're going to start training you. When you're talking about recirculating your dollars, we have a great non-for-profit within our community, the North Lawndale Employment Network, that not only trains folks to be hired, but they train them in money management and how to circulate that dollar back in our community. And if you really want to circulate a dollar in the community right now, go to Be Love Cafe and buy some honey and buy a cup of coffee, because the money that you put in that goes directly to the folks that are in our community. So you want to circulate dollars? Let's do it now. Let's not wait until these things are built. Let's do that currently.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Alderman. Let's see. I think just one more here. And I think maybe this would go back to AJ or possibly Unite too. So when you are, underway with the, you're breaking ground and, bringing on subcontractors and, hiring for the construction project, is there a way for, local smaller businesses to subcontract on this? Will there be like, hiring fair, or what kind of outreach would be done to bring, local, like ideally businesses owned by people of color into the fold here?
So I can answer that. So we do this thing that we call Related Connects. And what that means is that we connect with small businesses and organizations in the community in the areas that we work in. And we do that through engaging and then preparing and then connecting them, right? So when we engage, that means that we're doing vendor fairs before we go out to bid, right? None of this like we went out to bid and then, oh, shoot, we forgot about the MBEWBs. That's not how we do this. We do that at the beginning, very purposeful, with intention at the front end of the project. Then we prepare. So if there are subcontractors, I talked earlier about being able to build small businesses. If we prepare them, we connect with organizations like Hire 360 or Black Men United or North Lawndale Christian organization. So we develop programs, and we will do that for this project as well, where we're taking the best of all of these different training programs and get those small businesses ready. And then we connect them with potential partners, right? If it's a small firm and they want to work on this project, we connect them so that there's potential partnerships there. And so through engaging and preparing and connecting with enough time in advance, right, we will be able to do that for small subcontractor opportunities for bidding on the project. And then as we work with the subcontractors and general contractors and the team, we will, as part of their contract, they need to identify hiring opportunities. And the same thing there, we will work with the local organizations and and build a roster of people that are ready to start work. So we'll do that.
Can I ask a favor? Sure. Of Related Midwest and 548? We have a great organization that is on the line with us and is ready to help it as it relates to getting our folks within the community ready for all kinds of opportunities as it relates to employment. That's the North Lawndale Employment Network. They are a great partner. They work really well with us, and I'm sure you guys have heard of them. They're willing and able and chomping at the bit to make sure that we get local residents hired. So if I can connect the two of you, AJ, if you can let me know who's the best person to do that, would love to make sure that we have our residents as a part of the initial process.
Yeah, Alderman Scott, I'd be happy to connect with, with the NLCC. So absolutely, that'd be great.
And I just want to say one thing. The Beloved Cafe was actually a source of inspiration for one of, just as we were thinking about design for the Innovation Center. So Brenda, thank you for all the work that you're doing in the community.
Okay, yeah, thanks everyone for the questions and for the responses from the 548 and Related team and Alderman Scott. One comment came up about folks from the attendees not being able to turn their cameras on. That was not intentional. I'm kind of, a little shaky with my Zoom meeting scheduling. So I did not mean to do that. I don't mean it as a point of disrespect to the community. If anybody knows how to do it in the middle of the meeting, please feel free to direct message me and I'll try to do that, but definitely not trying to exclude folks from being seen and interacting. But you can also raise your hand and ask a question too. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Richard. Move to the next item on our agenda here so he can talk about the Reclaiming Chicago Communities initiative. Sure. So, Richard, you should be able to share your screen.
Right.
It's all yours.
Thank you, Brian. I'm gonna start this slideshow. There we go. So Alderman Scott asked me to do more than just talk about the reclaiming campaign, because oftentimes, even some of the questions that are in the chat now about property taxes being raised and local people being hired and just, what I would call community development 101 questions come up at every community meeting. And so I want to start by talking a little bit about the difference between community development without displacement and gentrification. So does development cause gentrification? In 1960, North Lawndale had 120,000 residents. Most of you are aware of this. In 2020, North Lawndale was closer to 35,000 residents. And so if North Lawndale tripled in population, there would still be room for people to live here. Unlike other communities that are sort of landlocked, there's still room to do development. There are over 3,000 city-owned and privately owned lots in North Lawndale. Those vacant lots pay very little in property taxes, making North Lawndale less likely to attract significant investment from the kind of businesses that folks in the community want to see. A couple of folks have alluded to this. There's $120 million in leakage. We just did a study with the Great Cities Institute at UIC that shows annually $120 million leaves North Lawndale as we spend our dollars outside of the neighborhood. And only 25% of the neighbors' residents are homeowners. And most of those folks are elderly. So we've got a lot of things to fix before we even deal with gentrification. Questions come up in meetings, will taxes go up? Will seniors be forced to leave? Are other people gonna move into the neighborhood and push us out? Our people can't be homeowners, it's not for us. Why should I stay? Issues around crime. And some folks say they'll buy when schools improve. So I have a retort for that. How much are people paying in rent right now for a 3-bedroom apartment in North Lawndale? And a lot of people are paying $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month. And so if we can figure out a way to improve someone's credit score and help with money for down payment, can we buy a home for less than what we're paying in rent, and therefore have an opportunity to actually grow wealth and pass generational wealth on to our family members. And that's what, for us, what the Reclaiming campaign is all about. How do we repopulate the neighborhood by going after existing community residents who live, work, or worship in North Lawndale? That's our goal. How do we sell homes so that people, people buy because other folks sell? And so how can we make a decision collectively that we value the community in the same way that we see other people valuing the community? Instead of us moving, Black folks have left Chicago en masse. Let's settle down, improve, buy where we are, and rebuild, and bring back the market so that money won't continue to leave the neighborhood. Crime and violence. For some of you that don't know, North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council is working right now, the next few months, to address root causes. They're doing a comprehensive study to help deal with crime. And the North Lawndale Homeowners Association has been meeting with the new deputy chief and the 10th and 11th Police District, along with Alderman Scott, about troubled buildings. So there are things actually right now going on to deal with crime. Beyond dealing with the police, there are things that we are doing as a community around crime. So now you may not be able to read this, but I'm going to talk about reclaiming. So United Power members, including the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council, North Lawndale Homeowners Association, which I'm a proud member of, LCDC, Mercy Housing, Harmony Community Church, Holman Square, Learn Charter, NHS, urged Mayor Lightfoot in October of 2019 to help us build 1,000 single-family homes for working people in North Lawndale and 1,000 single-family homes on the South Side. And so thanks to Alderman Scott, who has been our champion every day of the week on this, Representative Lakeisha Collins, Senator Van Pelt, and Commissioner Beard. They've been extremely supportive in helping to drive the process so that local folks will be able to own and rebuild the neighborhood. The Reclaiming campaign is not just in North Lawndale. It's in 4 communities. It's in North Lawndale, Chicago Lawn, Back of the Yards, and Roseland. And our goal is to build 1,000 in North Lawndale and 1,000 in those Southside communities. So someone had a question about money before. We have raised $12 million of private money, foundations, high net worth individuals, to put a 0% construction loan. So we're not paying construction interest when we build the homes. We've raised $5.3 million in TIF, thanks to Alderman Scott, specifically for the infrastructure. So TIF has never been used in single family construction like this. It's usually done in large commercial projects. So we have figured out a way in North Lawndale, how do we use TIF? Because the land is city owned. And so why don't we use a resource that the city uses to bring in new sewers, new water service, take up the old foundation. Every house that's been demolished in Chicago is basically sitting on classified fill because there were lead windows or lead. So let's take all of that out, bring in new fill, bring in a new foundation, new sidewalk, new parking pad. And so the TIF money is going to pay for all of that. So then we'll take about $50,000 out of the cost of the home. We've also raised $10 million from the state of Illinois for home buyer subsidies. So our goal is to sell a home for around $250,000, maybe a little bit more than that, but then have a subsidy that we can give to every home buyer. So that house will be under $250,000. As AJ Patton talked about before, we're having our similar issues. Our construction, our lumber costs have gone up from about $20,000 per building to about $45,000 per building over the past year, which is huge. And so we're trying to get a handle on these construction costs so that we can guarantee the end price to a buyer will be less than $250,000. There's nobody in Chicago building a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $250,000 or less. It just doesn't exist, but we're going to do it in North Lawndale.
Not just in Chicago, I would say in the world. It doesn't happen anymore.
It's tough, but we're mission based. So these are the 2 model homes that we built at 1621 and 1623 South Avers. The one on the left is a traditional stick-built home. The one on the right was built in a factory on 44th and Kildare. It's a modular home. Both of them are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, roughly 1,500 to 1,600 square feet. On the right, you can see the kitchen in the house on the left. So that's just a shot of the kitchen. Also going to give you an interior shot of one of the bedroom in the modular home, and my favorite room, the Spider-Man superhero room in the other bedroom. And so our goal, again, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, all appliances, washer, dryer, no basement, because if we add a basement, that adds another $40,000 to the cost. And also you got to come up with flood protection for basements, because every basement in Chicago pretty much floods. So our goal is, how do we build a home for working folks? How do we build a home for existing folks and have it be priced at around what people are paying in rent today? And that's what the Reclaiming campaign is all about. Timeline, we went in for permits on April 11th. We're going to start infrastructure as soon as we get permits. We hope that's in mid-May. And that's where we're going to do all of the underground work. So digging up the old foundation, taking the classified dirt out, putting in a new foundation, new water service, new sewer service, new parking pad and sidewalk. Construction of the first 21 homes will start mid to end of July. They're going to take about 6 months. So we think by mid-January, those first 21 homes will be delivered. We're going to start on the second tranche of homes in November, 35 to 45 of those homes. And our goal by the end of 2023 is have the first 100 homes built and sold. We are aggressively doing homebuyer education and training. We have HUD certified homeownership counselors, both with NHS and in our organization. And we've helped about 120 people in the past year go through homebuyer training so they'll be ready when these first homes. And we are marketing primarily in North Lawndale. We're not doing outside marketing. So we're marketing for the people in the neighborhood to be able to buy homes. Local opportunities for construction jobs. The factory that Connects has, there is their website. And so we have 6 people from the community right now, Alderman Scott, working in the warehouse, building homes. The beauty of that is you don't have to have a lot of construction experience. It's sort of like Legos, and you have to be a problem solver to be able to build a modular home. So that house is built in the factory, put on a flatbed, transported to the site, and then finished in the site in about 30 days. Breaking Ground, which is in the neighborhood at 3501 West Fillmore, is also looking for local opportunities, not just for laborers, but also for electricians, plumbers, carpenters to add to their. Both of these companies are going to need more workers, because when they start building 10 and 20 and 40 and 50 homes at a time, they don't have the workforce today to do that. And so that's why I put both of those in the slide, so that there'll be opportunities for local folks. And we've already got 6 guys already working at Connects right now from the community. Home buyer process, you want to buy a home, you can work with NHS. Lawndale Christian also has a 8-hour, 6 hours in the classroom, 2 individual counseling sessions. If you're interested in buying a home, you can email me directly. There's my email address. We're looking for people who live, work, and worship in North Lawndale. Sales price will be under $250,000. And if people aren't ready today, we're going to be doing this for 7 to 10 years. And so our goal is get yourself in a position, whether you need to work on your credit, you need to work on your down payment, so that you can buy a home and don't move in. So that's the end of my time, and I'll entertain any questions that folks have.
Great, thanks so much, Richard. There are some questions. Let's see. There's one about the home buyers training program that you just addressed that was in the chat. But then we've also got, let's see, from Ramel Terry, how do we ensure these homes are not flipped, which has happened the past 10 years for new construction homes?
I can answer that second question easier. So everyone who gets a subsidy, they're gonna have a 5-year commitment, or else they'll have to repay their subsidy. So if someone buys a house and then flips it, they'll have to pay back the subsidy that we give them. And so, for example, if we give somebody a $50,000 subsidy, similar to how it was under New Homes for Chicago, they would burn off 20% of it a year for 5 years. So at the end of 5 years, if someone wants to sell, they can sell. And for us, we're trying to encourage wealth creation. So we're not stopping people from being able to sell. We're just limiting how much they'll be able to sell for, at least for 5 years.
And I would also say, Richard, that if somebody is going to sell in that 5-year period and give the money back, that gives us an opportunity to then go and give that money to somebody else. And because at the end of the day, we want to get 1,000 homes in the ground in that 7 to 10 year period. And it gives the opportunity for somebody else who needs that subsidy to be able to get that subsidy. And again, what I hope from this program is that people see the value in the homes and the value in North Lawndale and want to continue to live here or to move back here. And so, you know, I'm not that concerned with folks that are flipping. What I'm concerned about is repopulating this community, because as Richard talked about in the beginning of his slides, we were at 120. We were the Mecca of the city of Chicago and probably the Mecca of the Midwest, because we had everything here from Sears, Roebuck to Hot Point, Sunbeam, you know, everything that was here, and all the jobs were here. So we had 120 residents here. And now we're down to 35,000 residents in earnest. And you need at least 52,000 residents to be a ward. And so we don't want to continue to spread out and depopulate and destabilize the African-American community, especially here in North Lawndale. And so I'm not as concerned about folks flipping as long as, you know, we're repopulating with people that need those homes and folks that are coming in and around North Lawndale.
Great, thank you. And then just for folks, please use the Q&A. It's easier because some of the questions can be responded to by typing it in, but I can't do that so easily. Well, it's just easier and more efficient if everyone puts their questions in the Q&A. Oh, Tanya, you have your hand raised. Is from Tanya Williams. Did you have a question? I think that one might be in error. Anyhow. Okay, Brenda. Go ahead. You should be able to unmute and ask your question.
Brian, were you saying Brenda?
Yeah, you had your hand raised. Did you ever?
By accident. I guess I just needed some attention. I don't know.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
No, by accident.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Let's see. Keeping with the raised hands, Princess Shaw.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Mr. Townsend, I had a quick question for you. My question is, I know a lot of times when people do the NHS classes, I've done it a couple of times, and you know, they have that period where you're able to go out with whatever financing that you may be approved for. And this is just an idea, right? Because I always come up with a really, really great ideas, is to say that, hey, they normally have like 90 days in order to use that. I think, I don't know how the proper terminology is, but they normally have like 90 days to use that in order to get the home. And if not, it expires and then they have to redo the actual process all over again. Is there any way maybe to extend that expiration date or something of that nature, since you are doing a lot of the groundbreaking type of things, just so that people are more in queue and, you know, or maybe even having a pathway after the 90 days expires to actually be able to do something else in order to make sure that the person stays on queue in order to be able to get one of the homes?
I think that's a great question. And I think we're definitely willing to extend it for us, whether someone takes it at NHS or through our program, you know, either certificate we'll take. If it goes beyond, what we may do is like some sort of continuing education that's not the whole 8 hours, but there may be, you know, the situation may change. And so we may want to just do the counseling portion where we sit down and say, is everything still good? Is your credit still fine? Is your, you know, how are you doing on down payment? So, I mean, if we got folks that are in the neighborhood that want to buy, we're going to figure out a way for them to buy. I mean, I'm not going to let a 90-day, you know, expiration stop us from selling somebody a home. So we'll figure it out. But we won't make them retake the whole course over.
Thank you. Move over to
hey, Brian, Princess had like 3 questions in the chat. I'd like for her to answer those questions. And Princess, if you could put them in the question and answers from now on, so that it's easier to answer. Could you ask those other questions so we can just get them done with now, if you could, real quick?
Sure. What is the quality and lifespan of the homes was another question. And I think it was kind of like a 2-parter question where it was asking about the expiration date. Thank you, Alderman.
So it's hard for me to answer the first question because what is the quality and lifespan of any home, right? I mean, every builder will give you a 1-year warranty. I would dare say that it's probably, you know, if you can get a building permit in the city of Chicago, you can build a house on the moon, right? We have the most restrictive building code in the country. And so if you can build it here, you can build, there's no place in the country that has tougher building standards than the city of Chicago. And so these homes have been permitted, they've been inspected, not only by the building department, but also by us. We pay a construction specialist to make sure. And so they're gonna be as solid as any other home built anywhere in the, you know, in the state and in the country. And so you'll get a 1-year warranty the same way you would if you bought your home from one of these big builders. And, you know, that's all, you know, I don't know if you've toured the house at all, Princess, but it's a beautiful, both of them are beautiful, and we're going to be building 2 more models soon.
Yeah,
Hey,
Mr.
Richard.
Townsend, just so you know, as far as anything, yes, and I was actually helping Walanda as well,
Yep.
so yes.
Yep, there it is.
Hey, Richard, can you speak really quickly to MBEWB participation and how much it is on the jobs that we're doing here?
So on the underground work, it'll have to all be MBEWBE, it's union. And so the underground work, it'll be that. For the above ground work, you know, we're gonna have pretty high participation of African-American and, you know, communities of color. I don't know off the top of my head what the number is right now. It'll probably be in the range of 30–40%. What Lawndale Christian Development, so we're not the only person that's doing this, we're part of a coalition. And so I can say on our projects, right now we're doing 2 multifamily projects, one on 19th and Harding, one on 19th and Pulaski. The developer is us as African-American. The general contractor is GMA Construction and John Bonds, both African-American, and the architect is African-American. So our goal is to meet or exceed, we're not trying to do no 25-5. We're trying to get at 50–60% a minority. And what we mean by that is African-Americans on the job site. And so single family is a little harder because you're building one house at a time, as opposed to, you know, if you're in a multifamily building, for us, it's easier to get the more MBE participation because it's a bigger contract and a bigger
building. Great, thank you, Richard. Yeah, I think that speaks to Kevin's question in the Q&A here about MBE goals.
Hey Brian, can we go to housing and displacement? I like to, in my meetings on time, 7 is the we'll go over a little bit because I know we'll need to answer some questions about the housing, but let's move on to housing if we could, and then anything that we haven't answered, you know, we'll send out an email to everybody who was on here. I just want to make sure that we get through this portion because we're getting close to 7.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I thought we were going until 7:30. But
nope, I'm an hour and a half, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, sorry for the miscommunication there. All right, well, yeah, so got my colleague from the Department of Housing, Cindy Soto here, who is going to talk about DOH affordable housing initiatives.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And really want to give a shout out to Princess Shaw because she's a great advocate for your community. I've talked to her multiple times just to different opportunities to help residents in your area. So really good to see you here, Princess. I'm sharing my screen, but for some reason it's not letting me see what I'm sharing. So do you see affordable housing overview?
We do.
Okay. Let me see if I could pull up my other screen here.
You know, Cindy, I have your slides put into like the main slide deck. Do you want me to pull that up instead?
That probably would be good because I can't see what the next slide is for some reason. It's not working with the double screens.
Sure, yeah, let's do that.
Okay. As you do that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Cindy Soto. I'm Managing Deputy Commissioner at the Chicago Department of Housing. And I oversee the Office of Community Engagement, Racial Equity, and Strategic Initiatives. And part of the task that I have, along with the Commissioner, is making sure that our work really revolves around racial justice, racial equity, speaking truth to power, thinking about how we can restore, you know, the integrity, the beauty of community that has been stolen through historical harms due to discrimination or racism. So our work has kind of been defined by, if you probably have heard the racial equity impact assessment that came out of our office, has been defined by the REIA. It identified where across the city we've seen disparities in low-income housing tax credits, how we can improve these disparities, and how we can invest in communities across the city in a way that are equitable. So I'm just going to share some of the resources. I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. I know we're getting close to time. Yeah, thank you. This is our mission, vision, values. We just came up with this during the administration of the mayor and under Marisa Navarra, the commissioner's leadership. We decided that as a department, we need to make sure that all of us are looking at this work from the same lens, the same angle. And so looking at each individual community area with the intent to build affordable, safe, and healthy homes. And you can see a lot of the what we have here in our value statements on our website, which I'll be sharing the link to in the chat shortly. The next slide, please, Brian. So what do we mean by affordable? Affordable housing can show up in many different ways. And we look at what the area median income is. And in the next slide, I'll give you an example of a couple of real life scenarios. But we look at what's housing cost burden. So pay less, if you pay less than 30% of your income on a monthly housing, on a monthly basis, we would consider that, you know, to be what we want to aim for. Anything more than that would, you know, be going into what would be a cost burden for you. The area median income is calculated by the federal government. It just came out for this year a few weeks ago. So we have some new numbers, which you can also find on our website. And it's in the metro area, it includes Chicago, Naperville, and Joliet. Next slide, please, Brian. So just some real life scenarios here. So a family of 4 with one parent working as a school cafeteria cook making $28,000 a year, and the other parent as a library clerk making $36,000 a year, so $64,000 combined, would put you around the 65% area median income. A single mom making $20 an hour and working 30 hours a week, making $30,000 a year, would put you under the 40% or below area median income. A retired couple living on a Social Security income making $22,000 a year combined would put them below the 30% area median income. So this can be any one of us. It can be our neighbors. It can be our family members. It can be our children. It can be our grandparents. So affordable housing is really for all of us. You know, all of us, and this goes, you know, up to 120%, as you can see from the chart on our website. But you can find real life scenarios in your communities as to why affordable housing is so important to ensure that it's available for generations to come as well, just, you know, for the families and different generations and their different lifestyles throughout their lives. The next slide, please. So we do 3 main components here. We develop buildings, affordable homes. We help residents fix and keep their homes, and we help residents buy or rent homes. And I'll just go over quickly what some of these tools are. The next slide, please. So some housing resources. Richard was kind to mention the housing counseling program. They 8-hour workshop. We fund a lot of community partners that provide this workshop. It's a HUD funded program, so a lot of the stipulations do come from HUD. But you can find a number of community housing counseling centers across the city. We also offer small accessible repairs for seniors. So if you fall within the range of 80% AMI, you can get a grant of between $1,000 to $15,000 to repair your home if you're an older adult. We also have the additional dwelling unit pilot in North Lawndale is part of the pilot area. And this assists with building either an accessory dwelling unit in the basement or in your backyard. And if you qualify, you can get a grant to help you with the cost. We also have the emergency heat repair program. So a number of different programs that we offer for homeowners and for renters, which again, I'll drop a link to our website in the chat, and you can also see the list of community partners that can assist you directly with applications and provide additional information for you. The next slide, please. So this is the low-income housing tax credit, kind of overview. I know it's a very, very small map, but this was announced last year in December, and we were successful in identifying 25 projects, the 25th being on Peoria and 18th Street. It was an acquisition, but ultimately it added up to about $1 billion in investments across the city. We hope to see about 2,400 housing units come online. And this allows for developers to be able to provide affordable housing and keep rates, very low for renters so people can stay in their communities and thrive in place. The next slide, please. Just a quick overview of some light tech projects. As you can see, they look like, any other building, multifamily. And we thrive thanks to DPD and Commissioner Cox to ensure that there is design excellence in these. So it's been really a great experience under Mayor Lori Lightfoot to ensure that these designs and these homes really continue to shine bright in the communities and are a safe place and a place where community can gather. So it's not just the homes, but also the spaces, the commercial spaces below, what's around it, parking or parks, or just areas where community members can meet and gather. The next slide, please. We also work towards equitable transit-oriented development, which looks at how housing shows up in areas that are accessible to transit. Additionally, we prioritize communities that have been historically marginalized, and we look at community areas that have assets that go beyond just your home, but that are close to transit, that can get you to school, that can get you to work, that is walkable, clean air. We look at everything in terms of what is in the community in addition to your home, and try to prioritize those different developments that provide access to public transportation and other modes of commuting aside from using your car. The next slide, please. And here's an example of a project that's coming online next week, I believe on the 20th. It's in Logan Square. It's next to the Blue Line. We'll do a ribbon cutting, and there'll be different businesses in the commercial area. We have the Silver Room moving in. A lot of great opportunities for community members, again, to gather and enjoy the neighborhood, and also build density and help the businesses in the area as well. The next slide, please. Then we have the Affordable Requirement Ordinance. This allows us to ensure that people could stay in place and not be gentrified out of their communities. So typically, the ARO is triggered if there's a residential development with 10 or more units with city land, city money, or zoning change to provide a portion of the units as affordable housing. In 2021, the ARO added 355 new affordable units in high income areas and contributed to $13.9 million into Affordable Housing Opportunity Fund, known as AHOF. And AHOF pays for programs like the Chicago Low Income Housing Trust Fund that provides a rental subsidy to individuals across the city as long as the income qualified. Typically, it's for people that are 30% or below of the area median income. The next slide, please. And I think I have 6 minutes left. I will share the link to our website along with the list of community partners and our different programs where you could scan through those and see if any of them apply to you, and either reach out to us or to our community partners. We're here to serve you. And thank you so much.
Hey, Cindy, we'll answer as many questions. I'm not going to kick everybody off at 7. So we'll make sure that we get everything answered where we can, and then we'll go from there. But Brian, back to you, sir.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say I'm happy to hang out and take a little bit more time. So let's see. Does anyone have any questions specific to Cindy's? Let's see. I'm sorry, Cindy. Distracted here. So Kevin Howard, you have your hand raised. I'm not sure if this was from the previous presentation or item, but Kevin, is there anything that you'd like to ask? Okay. Looks like you took your hand down. Okay, Lisa. You have your hand raised? Would you, do you have a question? No? Okay. All right, we're striking out here. So, okay. Sorry, Sanuela?
Hello.
Yes.
This is Kevin
Hello.
Howard again.
Oh,
yes. Hello.
Okay. Sorry, we're getting mixed up here. Kevin, did you have a question for Cindy and the DOH presentation?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm usually on top of my technology. One, I just want to thank everyone for sharing the information. And I just want to touch on a couple of quick points. So I'm a minority contractor. I've worked in the community for almost 20 years. I'm very excited about this as well as other programs throughout the city. One of my questions that's pertinent is minority participation. We know that historically we hear these conversations about inclusion. I will say in fairness that this appears to be one of the most dynamic, forward-thinking projects in quite a long time in the city. I'd like to speak to specifically minority contractor involvement. It was mentioned in previous conversations. Are there mandates or are these numbers that as a whole the group is trying to hit, are they mandated or are these sort of voluntary and objective or subjective numbers that each individual organization is trying to hit?
So Kevin, with the city project, when you receive city funding, there is a mandatory 26 and 6 of participation and 26 MBE and 6 WBE. And so what everybody here is committed to doing is it's almost like doubling what it is those are. And that's because of their commitment to not only this community and the folks that live here, but the city of Chicago and making sure that the residents of the city of Chicago have great opportunities to be employed. And as an alderman, it is my job to push them to get as many, and when I say minority participation, I mean African-American, because 75% of my ward is African-American. And so when I'm talking about those numbers, I want to represent the folks who I represent. So 75% of, let's say we get to 50% of that MBE will be African-American. And so again, these are not numbers that are mandated by the city, because we're at 26 and 6. This is something that these developers understand the conditions in which, and the under resources that this community has had for so many years, and want to be a part of the solution and not part of that problem.
Excellent answer, thank you. And I'll piggyback very briefly with one last question. As a contractor, there are multiple layers to this. We've got multiple players from multiple agencies. As a contractor, where would I begin? Would I reach out to NHS? Would I reach out to your office? Is there one-stop shopping? Or as businessman, would I contact each individual agency that's related to this particular project?
What I'm gonna ask you to do, Kevin, is put your information in the chat. Somebody from the related team, somebody from LCDC in my office will get your number. What I will say is when you are giving city dollars to, and this is the related program I'm talking about right now. We have something different with Reclaim, and with the related project. when you give city monies, we require that in most cases that there's a labor agreement, right?
Sure.
Because this is a labor town, and you know, when you build big projects like that, you don't want for the trades to come out and shut that down. That's not how you get it's not how you get buildings in the ground and people to work, right?
Correct.
And so we'll have to work with that. And I don't know if you're in a union or not. However, when you're dealing with LCDC and the money that we're doing, because of kind of how things are formulated, they have a little different path, and
Sure.
We're trying to get it built for the lowest amount of possible, and prevailing wage doesn't always work in that regard. And so again, if you leave your number in the chat, we'll have somebody get back to you and try to get you as much information as possible. Make sure that when these things come available, there are opportunities for not only you, but anybody who lives in the ward who wants to participate.
Excellent. I'll take that from now and follow your lead and put my information in the chat. Great job, everyone. Many thanks for sharing the information. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Kevin, and thanks everyone for your responses too. And I just want to mention really briefly from the DPD standpoint too. You know, we have our MBE and WB requirements that apply, but you know, in the situations where the city is either, you know, if it's a RFP project that you know, where the city is selecting a developer, or you know, a situation where you know, we're providing financial assistance and we have a say in it, we're not just, you know, telling the development teams that, like, okay, you have to comply with these city policies, trying to pick developers who are from the neighborhood or represent the neighborhood, or you know, firms and contractors that you know, are majority Black owned. So it's not just about having this policy that, you know, the budget has to meet a you know, certain number. It's trying to you know, build up some of these you know, entrepreneurs and you know, up and coming developers, and you know, like AJ, who's here tonight, and you know, who's, you know, growing his business, and you know, working with a larger team and related. So it goes beyond just that that city policy of 26 and 6 there. So sorry, Sanuela, I apologize. You did unmute before and you were about to ask a question, and then Kevin came back. So please go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. My question was, and I don't know if they answered it, I don't recall, about the property taxes in the area due to the 549 project. I don't know if anybody touched on that subject or not.
So property taxes for property taxes are assessed differently for commercial development and residential development. So if they build a $300 million project, it's not a $300 million project, I'm just throwing out a number, but if they build a $300 million project, your taxes don't go up because of that commercial development. When you build houses in and around your community, your property taxes go up when the residential values around continue to go up, right? And so, you know, one of the things that we're attempting to do, and that's why we talked about the reclaiming program, is to have houses that are affordable under that $250 range. You know, they may appraise for a little bit more because they build for a little bit more, which gives you a little bit of equity in your pocket. But it's pretty much what you sell for, and the comps in and around is what drives your property tax value. So just because it's related is building doesn't mean that your property taxes are going to go up.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention too that you know, so this is through the Cook County tax assessor. You know, the city does not you know, assess property, but you know, the assessor's office has a number of programs you know, related to property taxes to try to keep it you know, from rising at an unaffordable rate. You know, there's the homeowners tax exemption. Not exemption, sorry, but it's a, you know, reduces your property taxes. There's also a program for seniors as well. And then, yeah, you know, similar to what the Alderman just said, the Roosevelt Square project is a huge industrial development. So when the assessor is going to be looking at the value of, you know, I think you're talking about like a single family home, residential property, they're not comparing your property to a 30-acre industrial parcel, which is what the Roosevelt Costner project is. So just another thing to keep in mind.
And Brian, just in my own observations, I feel that taxes most definitely go up when there's no development. So I think that both of these projects are both reclaiming North Lawndale and the Roosevelt Costner project are going to be great catalysts for the community and tax base.
And I will also say the more commercial development, because they're taxed at a higher rate, the more commercial development we bring into the city of Chicago, the less residential taxes will be, because we tax businesses at a much higher rate than we tax individuals. And so if we could get several of these in and around and create a large tax base across the city of Chicago, and we bring in more taxes from businesses, then that money goes to the general fund, and your money, you don't have to raise your taxes. So that's part of what we're trying to do here as well.
All right, thanks, Trey and Alderman Scott. Let's see, Norvetta Landon has her hand raised, and you had some questions in the chat that haven't been responded to. So go ahead, you should be able to unmute. I think we'll wrap it up after this as well. Norvetta, can you, let's see. You should have the ability to unmute and ask your question.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I do have a couple of questions. One is, will they, can we implement a tax freeze so that the community taxes, because a lot of times when new developments does happen, they're able to get a 10-year, they get a 10-year waive on their taxes because of the development or doing development with low income housing or anything involving low income, they get a 10-year waive on their taxes. So I just want to make sure that down the line in the first beginning, our community won't be assessed, but within the next 3-4 years after, we will, because of the value of the community, that area going up, the taxes will increase. So is there a way that we can get a freeze for the next 5 to 10 years for our area?
I can't commit to that. Because I don't assess the taxes. What I will do with you though is, and I believe I know who I'm speaking with. What I will do is, so we can have a conversation with 2 people, right? And we can talk about that with the assessor and the want to be assessor. I don't have a problem with bringing both of them to a meeting where we can have these conversations as well, if that works for you.
Yes, I just want us to get some type of agreement or something in writing for us so that we're not trying to deal with it after the fact. And then my last question is, because a lot of the developers pretty much have their team selected on the construction or the project in itself, because of once it was already presented as a plan, they have their team together. So my question is in regards to the scope that's remaining, what scope is that remaining for the different contractors within the community where we can subcontract on the various areas that's left?
Are you talking about Costner Roosevelt, or are you talking about reclaiming Chicago?
I'm speaking of both within the Lawndale, within our community.
So what I will say is, when you pick a GC, they don't even have the drawings done yet, right? So, and this is, I'm not talking about reclaiming. I'll let Richard speak to that. But what I will say is, with the Roosevelt Costner, drawings aren't all the way done, right? They haven't gone in for permits. We're a long way out. So in terms of choosing, and correct me if I'm wrong, 548 related, there will be plenty of time for And as long as I am the alderman, we will make sure that we have community participation. We're a long way from that. They may have a GC, but they don't have any of those subs yet, right? And if there's a qualified candidate within the community where these dollars can be recycled into our community, that is something that I'm going to push for all day. And I know that AJ Patton and the folks over at Related feel the same way, and we'll listen. And if we have a qualified person to get that done, we will try to get that done.
And Alderman Pat, this is Shreya. We have not gotten the drawings completed. We're still in the process of figuring out who our GC is. So you've correctly relayed the information. Norvetta, time is on your side. Just get in touch with us, and we can evaluate what opportunities are available.
Okay, is your information available at the alderman's office, or is it going to be posted on this site?
She put it in the chat, so if you look in the chat, but of course, all you got to do is call me, and we'll set up a meeting. We can sit down with AJ, we can sit down with Related, we can sit down with whomever, present the scope of what it is that you do, and put you in the queue. That's easy. Okay. That's easy.
All right, thank you.
I would say on our side, we have already chosen general contractors, but all of the subs, we're trying to be very, very competitive. Our driver is we're trying to get a number that we can sell a house for less than $250,000. So that's our driver. And so we've had some folks come in and bid, and the project was $310,000. We're like, well, no, that's not acceptable, because our driver is, we're not trying to, too many, and I'm not saying this about you, Novetta, too many contractors try to hit a home run on one project. We're much more like, you're gonna make a little money on a lot of homes as opposed to making a lot of money on one project. And so the degree to which we're trying to keep our numbers at a point where if you build, 10 or 20 or 50 houses with us, fine, but you're not gonna make a home run on one. So I'd love to sit down with you, show you what our numbers are, what our subs are bidding at it, and give you an opportunity if that's something that you can do. If you can perform, you'll keep working.
I mean, I agree. As long as it is enough where, depending on how you're releasing the scope and the number of homes, then when we're able to acquire the material in bulks, then that brings the pricing down when it comes to, as far as with the material, and labor and how everything is priced right now. So it depends on how you're releasing and if they're doing the mobilization as far as what's being given to start up.
So that's why we're trying to do these homes in bulk, right? So if you look at the scope that he said, we're gonna try to do like 25 homes now, 35 homes on the next one, and then 35 homes after that, because we want to be able to, like you said, buy in bulk and keep the prices as low as possible. Also, when you build in neighborhoods, you want to be able to build in, you want to be able to build neighborhoods at a time. The one thing that I think where projects have failed in the past when we've been doing this is you haven't had an elected official who has been willing to give the amount of land that I'm willing to give to make sure that we can do this in bulk to make it work. Right. One thing that I did not get a chance to say about this before, you can hold on, Michael. The one thing that I forgot to say about this as we've been talking is, Richard is a brilliant man, right? And I don't say that, I don't throw that title around very often. And him working with, he did something before, but he had the wherewithal to stick with this and to say, hey, look, Alderman, let me show you this vision. Let me take you out to New York and show you how they did it in New York and how they built entire communities and turned Brooklyn around because of building in bulk, right? And again, we're gonna do everything that we can so it's efficient for not only the buyer, but the developer and the sub. And we hear you, and we're gonna try to make that happen. So if you can put those numbers together, we'll try to get you as much work as we can. I want to make sure that everybody in this community, as many times as possible, can perform and make money off of this. That's my goal. That's my ultimate goal.
So are we also looking at the possibility of some prefabs on something that may lower the cost with the design on this? So that way the homes are a little more affordable for the community, so they're not outpriced.
We're doing some prefab and we're doing some, go ahead, I'm sorry, Richard, go ahead.
It's no cheaper than the stick built. It's just built in a factory, so it's more controlled in terms of theft and weather, but the prices are coming in at the same. So it's not any cheaper to do it. It's just more controlled.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Norvetta, definitely appreciate the questions, but we are over time here, and there was more. Since I try to get through all the questions here, there's a really quick one regarding the PLAs. These projects, I would just direct that to someone at Related, and then to Richard too, because I'm not sure about the answer.
There's no PLA for single family homes. There is one for the underground work because of TIF. That tends to be prevailing wage or union. So it's pretty much when you start doing excavating work and underground utilities work, it's usually going to be done by companies, and we're using some that also have MBE subs. But on single family homes, there is no PLA. We're going non-union so that we can keep the cost down, because our job is getting a house for working people. We're not trying to build for Brownsville. We're not trying to build $500,000, $750,000 houses. We're trying to build houses that working people can afford. So it means we're going non-union.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I think we've got through all the questions here, and we can wrap it up. Alderman, this is your show here. Would you like to
well, Brian,
say anything before we head out?
Yeah, I want to thank you once again for managing an excellent meeting. I want to thank the 548 related team for presenting what I think is going to be a transformative project in our community. I want to thank the Department of Housing for being here and showing all the resources that the city has and committing to making sure that there's equitable and affordable build in 24. And I want to thank Richard. Again, I don't thank him enough for his leadership and the commitment he has to North Lawndale and the ideas that he does. But I really appreciate the work that you do in and around North Lawndale, and count you as a friend, a mentor, and a colleague. And so I thank you for your continued work. And I want to thank everybody who was here today, who shared in kind of what it is that we're doing and all the thoughtful questions, and look forward to the great work that's going to happen in and around our community and make our community stronger and better, and move us into the next couple of decades. And so again, thank you everybody for being here. Feel free to reach out to my office, 773-533-2400, or you can reach us at alderman24@aldermanscott.com with any questions. We can forward you over the decks that you have, so feel free to reach out to us. And I would be remiss if I did not say, and I don't even know if she is still on here, but we are losing Brianna Braden, who started with us as an intern and has worked her way up to the Committee on Education and is the lead person over there. She's leaving tomorrow, and I wanted to thank her for all of the great work that she's done over the last 7 years in and out and graduating college and becoming a woman and having a baby. And just want to say how proud I am of her and look forward to her doing great things in her next endeavor. So thank you, Brianna, and thank you all for being here this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Just one final note is that I will send out the slide deck and a link to the recording of this meeting to everyone who signed up. So you can look for that. You can also find the recording of it on DPD's YouTube page. So you can follow us on YouTube if that's your thing. And the meeting will get posted on there within the next couple of days. So you'll be hearing from us with those resources as well. So yeah, thanks again, and have a good night, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.